Hi, everybody. This is the 10th session of our webinar series we're giving on how to leverage your mailing list to sell books. Johnny is going to teach our webinar today. So let me get through the usual intro slides to be sure any newcomers to the live sessions will know how to interact. You know the drill. We've got that little orange button to open or close the panel. The questions panel is the one you're looking for. And then we're occasionally going to ask you to raise or lower your hand when we do a little bit of a poll or something. So that's that little button down there at the bottom. All right. And we have a little bit of house cleaning. Does anybody have any stats to share? If you have any stats that you'd like to share, go ahead and put that into questions. Great news, and some of you may already receive the email today. BookFunnel not only has giveaways very similar to Insta Freebie, where you can collect email addresses of the people who download your free ebook, but BookFunnel now integrates with MailChimp. So woohoo! I know a lot of you authors out there love to use BookFunnel, so I'm sure this is good news for you. The handouts are almost done. I've actually had to make some major changes to the way I recommended that you do some of the integration of the giveaway list versus your reader club. So all those updates will be listed on there, and then we'll put it on the webinars page. Johnny and Brenda, you guys have anything?
What, like questions? No.
Well, like any housekeeping issues that you want to bring to anybody's attention.
Not particularly.
No.
I'm actually pretty excited about stuff. We have a lot of cool things coming. Oh yeah, there's that one thing where we'll talk about it on a different one, but that's not for tonight. Let's just set everybody up for that right there. It's like, whoa, nebulous and weird, but for later, perfect.
Okay.
No,
Brenda?
everything's cool. I'm super excited.
No, I just want to thank everyone for being patient with their exports. It has been taking a lot longer lately, and I apologize for that. We are ironing out all of the kinks in the software system, so hopefully that will be up and running soon. But in the meantime, I do it by hand, so I appreciate all the patience.
Actually, I definitely want to address this. Brenda has been the most amazing human being on this.
Yes, she has.
While it's been one of those things where if you've ever hiked a mountain and you think you're at the top, and all of a sudden you get to you realize it was just a little peak and there's way more to go. Like that's what's been happening. Called Heartbreak Ridge, but it's every 15 minutes for this poor girl. And she's been so amazing with the entire situation. Like, I don't even know how I would survive without her. So, I'm not kidding. Like, it's been ridiculous. So thank you. Seriously, thank you for that. I don't think I thanked you enough, and I think I might be buying you a puppy and a Lamborghini.
All right.
If we could afford either one of those, I think it'd be great.
Or a margarita, that'll do, you know.
Margaritas.
Great.
Just to Europe. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, exactly, right?
We've got some stats that came in. I'm really excited to go ahead and announce here. We've got Joe Goodson says he just got his subscriber list, sent the email 5 hours ago, and already has a 60% open rate and a 26% click rate to the freebie. So thanks, Joe, for sharing that. Those are awesome. And then Amy has an organic, let's see, my organic list rates are 45% open and 25% click. However, APR mailing list rates are 68% open and 42% click. She said,
"Dude, we're going to screenshot the crap out of that."
I know. It says
awesome.
I'm very impressed with the engagement of the people you seem to be sending me. So, woo! We have, well, this was Amy Canaday. Is that how you say your name, Amy? Amy Canaday?
Tsukada, I think so.
Yes. Okay, Amy Canaday. And then we have
Amy
Tasakuda.
Look at that.
Tasukada. Is that right? Tasukada? Yes, no? Yes, okay. She said, I quadrupled my list asking people to name a character, then linked it to the Facebook post. Got a ton of new subscribers saying the winner would be announced in the newsletter. So congratulations on that. I'm glad to see that this engagement, all this engagement is really, really helping people. I'm very glad to see that. So thank you guys so much. Did you screenshot those, Johnny?
Well, I think I'm going to have to pull them out of the things. If I screenshot them, I'm going to get a picture of the girl doing the Windex.
Actually, I will screenshot it. So,
right.
So let's go on to the next slide then, and I'll go ahead and screenshot this.
Because everyone's got it set up where that actually works.
Yes. Snipping tool. It's because I'm on a PC. not a
Mm-hmm.
Mac.
Yeah.
I know, yeah. I'm really excited about today's session. As I mentioned at the conclusion of our last session, Johnny is going to talk about how authors can take control of their careers and not feel like they're at the whim of the constantly changing trends. You may have heard two words being tossed around in marketing, and unfortunately, they're often used interchangeably when they really are very different as it pertains to application and timing. Tactics and strategies. Johnny is going to teach us both. But in short, strategies are lasting techniques used to sell your books and build a strong foundation for your business. And tactics are short-term techniques that take advantage of marketing trends, which usually don't last long. There's definitely a time and a place for both of these techniques, but today you'll not only know the difference between the two, you'll learn some tried and true techniques that will help you make better decisions on where to spend your time and how to spend your money. Take it away. Here's Johnny.
You've been waiting months to say that.
I have. I definitely.
All right, people. No, it's cool. And that's exactly what we're going to talk about tonight, because all of these things, when used together, what I want you to think about is let me back up just a second. You can tell I don't script myself because I just kind of go all over the place. What I've been seeing a lot, and so I've been working with these author folk, you folk, for quite a while, and one of the biggest things that I see are people who have extremely good ideas, who are becoming very knowledgeable in marketing and business, but at the same time, they're still kind of, let's call it a cognitive churn, if you will, between what long-term versus short-term means. And people will compare the results of a long-term strategy with the results of a short-term strategy. And essentially, and this is my favorite phrase ever, you're comparing apples to hairless cats. There is no similarity whatsoever. You know, you need to be comparing apples to apples. You know, for example, something like a BookBub promo, we've had people try to compare the results of an author platform rocket promo that they get, they're on the elite budget program, so they get like a first 100 people, and they don't get 10,000 downloads, and they're like shocked and aghast. It's apples, hairless cats. There's a complete difference. But both of them have their place in your overall marketing arsenal. And so what it takes is to, most authors that we've worked with, they come to us at the last minute in a complete tizzy saying, I need something right now. And the reason that happens is because it's a lack of planning and a lack of strategy and a lack of long-term thinking. So what I'll show you how to do tonight is how to plan, like let's call it a 12 to 24 month strategy, essentially, where what we're going to do is we're going to take the daily small steps and overlay them every few months with the punch it chewy moments where you're going to be getting like, okay, here's a bunch of sales, here's a bunch of downloads, here's what we're going to do here to drive us up, so that those daily steps take on more and more and more weight and become more and more effective. So hopefully that's making sense. I know it's kind of possibly abstract, but that's what we're talking about here. So the why behind a lot of this stuff is because without the laying out of a long-term and short-term strategy, you're going to be essentially like a headless chicken in an electric fence factory. It's like you just bzz, 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 and you're just running back and forth, and essentially you're taking tons of action, you're burning tons of time, you're losing writing time because you're focusing too heavily on marketing, and at the end of the day, you don't make a lot of progress. Like if a lot of you remember, you probably have been here for a while, you remember how you first came in, I gave that example of most authors are trying to run up a glass-covered hill in the middle of a summer day wearing, banana butter shoes. Like it's never going to happen. And that's what I'm trying to avoid here. And so this is where we sort of like take a deep breath and kind of look at this and say, okay, there are two things that we need to do. We need to sell books, we need to build our subscriber list. And I'm not talking about writing books. I think we've all sort of accepted that that is the case, that everybody needs to actually write the books, right? I just want to make sure. Actually, if I could get a quick one on that one just to make sure we're on the same page. I like it. It's like, oh my God, I'm so that chicken. That's hilarious. Perfect. Okay, cool. So this is what we're doing. So what is launching versus evergreen, and why does it matter? So a launch, now everybody should be fairly familiar with the concept of a book launch. It's embedded into the ethos of the publishing industry. Dude, I love all of you. She's like, you had me a
I had you
banana
have banana shoes. Yeah.
All right, cool. Evidently, I'm hitting a nerve with everybody. That's perfect. I love it tonight. So the book launch is burned into the psyche of pretty much every man, woman, and child who is like trying to publish a book. And that is, here is a new thing, and I am going to, with great fury and reckless abandon, inflict my opinion of how awesome my book is upon the world. And there's not, and it's like I kind of spelled that out in really weird, awful terms, but there's actually nothing wrong with it, and you should, with every ounce of your being, thrust forth deeply into everything you can. That's a big, 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 important kind of thing. So the launch is where you want to prepare. One big mistake is people think that maybe 2 weeks before the book is going to go live, they're going to have an effective launch if they start planning. That's totally not the case. Bare minimum, you need to be planning 30 days out. And if you're just now building your own personal platform, that's where it's going to get awkward because you're not going to have the internal fan base to really be able to make a big dent, especially if it's your first book or your second book or your third book. Typically, if you've been doing the fan building and the platform building in conjunction with writing more books, you typically see a big boom near the fourth, fifth, and sixth book. That's why, I kind of preach this whole 3-year strategy kind of thing because, it takes some time to ramp up. But anyway, what you do in this particular, this is where you're going to use like these fast book punches. Like, for example, I love vampire novels. Like, if you're doing a paranormal romance, that's the perfect place to say, hey, listen, I want to buy a promo on this, and we're going to do a super discounted price for this short period of time, and we're just going to blast this thing, free books, all these different things. We're actually going to give you a list of different sites tonight that a lot of people have had some pretty good luck with. And, obviously you need to test them, but that's where you get email promo to just blast this thing. And this will be also where a lot of people are going to dump a lot of Facebook ads because they want to do direct sale. They want to do direct download kind of things on their books so that it affects the algorithm inside of Amazon or Barnes & Noble or iTunes and all that different kind of stuff. So the higher you rise, the more organic eyeballs you're going to get, and then the more units you're going to get in general. And so that's awesome. Here's the problem with that, is a lot of people expect the long-term strategy to look just like that. What we're talking about is, if anybody has ever cooked on a Weber grill with charcoal, okay, when you put the charcoal in the grill and you squirt it with lighter fluid and then you hit it with a match, what happens? It's like boom. It's like flames everywhere. And it's super hot. And I say this tonight because I made a really amazing steak. Like that was the perfect analogy because it absolutely just happened a couple hours ago. And that's what a launch looks like. It's awesome. But it just in the exact example, it's like that flame's going to die down. It's going to go into like sort of a red hot coals, and you're going to be able to cook a lot of food for a long extended period of time, but you don't have 12-foot flames. And technically speaking, if you lit a Weber and you had 12-foot flames, you might have been using dynamite or an illegal substance, but we can get into that later. But anyway, what's happening right now is a lot of people are mistaking these two phenomena, that a punch, that a launch, that something like that is also going to have the same residual effect of an evergreen process. And that's what you sort of have to mentally break away from and say, okay, what we're going to do is we're going to look at a 12-month period in our lives as an author, and we're going to say, okay, we're going to punch every 3 months. The rest of the time, we're going to leverage platform building, and we're going to use direct-to-book sales strategy that's going to steadily feed a nice, tidy flow of traffic to the book we're promoting, and that's typically first in series, or if you have a box set, it's going to be a lot of you guys are playing the page read games with the box set. I would never in a million years fault you for that, but I think everybody needs to start thinking more long term because that'll go away after a little bit. But anyway, what I want to cover tonight, there's a problem happening right now that happens in every single industry that does advertising. And what's happening with authors right now is you're about 10 years behind the game in terms of paid traffic to an offer. Right now, the majority of the industry is very wrapped up in making friends and having friends promote each other. This is never going away. This is always going to be a staple of authors, and it's very important. It's a very fast way to get to a specific destination. The problem is it adopts the launch concept. When you use an email list to punch something, if it's your email list or someone else's, or if you pay like a book discovery site, think of that as dousing the coals with lighter fluid. That's what that is. Like, you could do that once, and then you've got to chill out on that because you can't do it again for a long time. You have to kind of like let that build back up. And so that could be months before you see another paycheck.
That's all that buy my book ad, buy my book ad, buy my book ad.
Exactly.
So you'll get
there's
spikes.
a time and a place. Absolutely, there's a time and a place. Like, I'm never going to besmirch that because it's true. And it's a phenomenal way to do things, but you have to expect that what's going to happen is, and I'm very familiar with the internal emotional adrenaline rush that happens with that, you know, you feel like, holy crap, you watch your numbers, you hit refresh constantly on your stats page. You go, yeah, who's your freaking daddy? I'm going to own this thing. You know, and you're like, this is never coming down. You know, but it's literally like, yeah, 3 days later, you're back in the pits where you were. And so this is like, it's also tied to a very emotional situation for a lot of people where there's like these highs and these lows. And I have absolutely been there. I have lived and died by the stats for years, probably over a decade now that I've been in that situation. I completely get it. I remember very, very specifically when I first launched Perfect Publishing System back in 2011, and it got picked up by tons and tons and tons of partners. I think that thing in 2 weeks made over $400,000. And I actually had to almost take mood stabilizing drugs to not lose my complete crap on this, because I was like, yes, because it had been so long since I'd been in that kind of situation. I remember my father-in-law even saying, you've got to feel amazing right now. And I'm like, absolutely not. I can't let myself get caught up in this moment because it's a temporary thing, and I've been here before. So launches, be very, very careful of how you set up your expectations for the rest of your cycle. Is this making sense? I want to make sure that the things, I know this is a lot of very abstract, sort of like we're going from financial to emotional, but in my personal experience, I've almost never seen a difference between the two.
Right, and I think a lot of us authors go into this whole situation with all we need is to get our books up in the stats, and then eventually it'll catch fire, it'll go viral, and then I'm in. Right. And that's every time we have a spike in our sales, and every time we have a situation where, okay, we got another launch, when is the one that's going to happen where it's going to catch, it's going to stay up there, and then I'm now set for the rest of my life. You know, I don't have to worry about it, and all my releases will keep going. And what the reality is, what you're going to see on stats we have in a couple of slides, is that whenever you have a release or a sale or something like that, it spikes and then it drops, and then it spikes and then it drops, and then it spikes and then it drops. Your mailing list is the one that's going to keep it going steady, and that's the long-term one.
Absolutely.
And that's so right. The leprechaun gives you the gold, Andy. Absolutely.
Absolutely. There you go. Exactly. This is why I keep telling people, you know, plan for the 3-year, plan for the winter, plan for the downtime. And I feel like I've almost become like the antithesis of a salesperson in this kind of regard, because I'm constantly reiterating the fact that there will be, the winter is coming, you know, in every case. And what I've seen time and time again is people get hooked on the launch cycle, and it literally is. There's a guy named Rich Schefren, who many of you probably have not heard about. He's like one of those business development online guru dudes who's really big, 2006 through 2012, and he's still going. He has a huge company right now. But he had the world's best quote. He's like, cash flow is like heroin.
Yeah.
And that's exactly true, because people they're trying to, you guys, it's like you're trying to spike the vein every time. Yeah. All right, I think I've labored this point. So, okay,
Right.
Now,
Well, CK's got a real quick question here, and it does make sense. She says, but if you get a bunch of purchases and downloads on Amazon, even if only for a brief time, won't all those same people get your new publications in their Amazon recommendations, Amazon promotional emails, etc.? Sometimes. Mostly, Amazon is driving people to follow authors. They want readers to follow authors, okay? Some of the promotional emails, but again, that's relying on Amazon's, grace, if you will, that
no,
they
that's a
have
really good
allowed,
point.
yeah,
That's
they
a
have
good point.
allowed you to get a little extra traffic based on people following, but the only time you usually get an email that says, hey, CK Brooke released a new book is if you're following that author. If people haven't followed you, which is akin to building your audience, if they haven't followed you, then you're not going to get those things. Even if you follow an
So
author,
really, let me kind of add on top of that really quickly is that is what we call gravy. That is not the meal.
right.
Okay? Like Amazon giving you algorithmic favorability or Amazon delivering some sort of email to people who have looked at your book or whatever that is gravy. There should never be a moment in your life where you rely upon that, because if
Right.
you do, by your next breath, you're out of business.
Right.
Because Amazon does not care about you at all. They care about their own stuff, and so they're constantly tweaking the algorithm. And I mean, you want to go on any forum whatsoever, you're going to find people. And I mean, when Ariel and I first started talking, I mean, this was years ago. I mean, literally, we're like oak trees at this point in the internet years. It's hilarious.
Internet.
But like, yeah, seriously, it's crazy. But I remember talking about this. There were a number of authors who we were very specific about, who only a few years previous had been writing this massive algorithmic
Right.
wave and were making tons of money and were like New York Times bestsellers, and they were blowing up and they're super excited, and all of a sudden everything changed and their stuff just vanished into obscurity.
Right.
And no one could figure out why. And it's like, I don't want this to happen to any of you. And I can flat out tell you that relying on Amazon or expecting that to show up as part of your business model is the thing that gets you killed.
Right.
The stuff that I'm doing, and this is why it's not sexy. Like, I was on a podcast, I compared Author Platform Rocket to sort of like, you go to the European nude beach to try to see hot people, but realistically speaking, it's just a fat guy in a thong.
Yeah.
But it's like, that dude's got to be there, because then that's like the quintessential, European nude beach, and it's like, I am the European nude beach. I'm not pretty to look at, but I'm necessary to exist. It's like, it's one of those things where it's like, hey, it's the fat guy in the thumb.
Right. I know Annie's protesting at the visuals you're painting for us. So
absolutely.
Senna makes a really good point here too. Even if you follow an author, Amazon's not really transparent about when or if they're going to send any emails. They just basically, and it's like they experiment and they try stuff, and every now and then you'll get a message. I know authors who, I don't know if you've seen those messages that come out from authors that has a personal message. Hey guys, just want to let you know my latest release is up. I'm so excited about blah, blah, blah. And I've gone to that author and I said, how did you get that? And I went, there's no place for me to do that. They asked me, would you like to do this? Would you like to do this? That's what Amazon asked them. So not everybody gets the same privileges either when it comes to that stuff. So yeah, this is what Johnny and I have been pounding through this whole webinar. Take control of your own career by building your own fan base. Your mailing list is going to be the key, because if Amazon pulls the plug on all of those follow buttons and decides, it's not working, we're going to get rid of it. Those authors who were relying on those spikes in their sales because of that follow are gone.
Remember the like button?
Yeah.
That's not there anymore.
The like button? Oh, yeah, over on Amazon? Yeah. Yeah, they took away Facebook. They took away the Facebook connections. You can't like.
No, that wasn't even a Facebook connection. That was an Amazon like button.
Oh, was it?
I like this book. Oh, absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that vanished in a poof of failed experiments. So anyway, that was us talking about the top 3 bullet points. Let's now move down to the second half of the page. Okay, so really quickly, this is something that inevitably happens in every single ad-based situation. And if you guys haven't noticed, I'm gonna like literally be the world's biggest wet blanket here, and then I will build you up. Don't worry. Don't worry, fun, fuzzy, happy, hippity-hoppity, fuzzy bunnies are coming. So major changes right now going on in the industry, and I see this stuff every single day. Because we work with like 6,500 authors through various capacities and stuff like that, I get a lot of email, as you might imagine. And what I always like is when people say, well, what are your click costs? I'm like, I don't know and I don't care. Here's why. The thing, I don't care if you can get a 2-cent click. Actually, this was funny. I got an email from an author a couple of days ago who said she was getting half a penny clicks. And I was like, that's incredible. Something's totally wrong. Because like, it's just my spidey senses went up. I'm like, that just doesn't happen. And as it turned out, it was because she was targeting South Africa and Brazil. And I had to, take a few minutes to explain to her, listen, I appreciate your efforts to take control of your own Facebook ads, but it would behoove you to spend money targeting countries who aren't crushed by poverty, who could afford to actually purchase your books. And I'm not trying to besmirch the horrific situations that most human beings find themselves in. But when it comes to an advertising situation, if you're trying to have a profitable career, you need to be running your game in countries where people have enough disposable income to buy your stuff. And that sort of like loops around to the point where click cost comes into play, because click costs are going to do one thing and one thing only, and that is go up. They will always go up. It does not matter if you're able to get 5-cent clicks right now. Next year at this time, they're going to be 15. They're probably going to be 40. And so what you need to start understanding as an author is that if you are basing your advertising model around the cheapest clicks possible, and you're getting them, first of all, make hay while the sun shines. I don't want to poo anybody's thing, because right now clicks can be had cheaply. Please run for the hills. Here's what's happening next. Clicks will cease to be cheap because two things will happen. Number one, the market is going to hear about it and more authors will flood it. I promise you this is already happening. And so the more authors that join, the higher the cost, because now the demand, it's simple supply and demand. That's what it is. And so the more people bidding for these targets, the higher the cost goes. Like in paranormal romance, do you have any idea how many people on a minutely basis are bidding on J.R. Ward?
Oh, yeah.
Do you know how expensive she's become?
Yeah.
And she's like she's become the least effective target now inside of paranormal romance. In fact, we've been excluding her and a couple other major authors in paranormal romance now for several months, because the effect has just dropped like a stone, because everybody's trying to get her. And so that's what's happening, is like oversaturation in certain areas, and that leads to increased costs. And so here is what works. Understand that your costs are going to go from wherever they are right now. Let's say you can get a 15-cent click. Good on you. Okay, what are you going to do when that's $1.15? Because it will happen. In any lucrative market, the costs are going to go up. You should see what clicks are in Google AdWords for insurance companies. Back in 2004, you could get those things for like a quarter. Now they're like $25 a click. It's insane. But the reason
competition is so high. Yeah.
Exactly. Well, also they know what the lucrative keywords are. They know that people are willing to spend that money to get a client. And so this is what happens, is you have to look at the fact that, okay, my costs are going to increase, guaranteed, 100%. How do you buffer against that? And so if you look at that last bullet point there, the people that survive this situation are the ones with the biggest back catalog, the best sell-through, and the best, most responsive and engaged audience, meaning your newsletter. Like, you have real people. So these are the things that you need to focus on. Because if you're looking, most authors that I've seen, they're like, and I was actually talking to Sean and Johnny about this the other day. We were doing a quick call, and they were talking about an author that they were working with who was sure they had it all figured out. Like, the guy had quit his job and like bought a car and all this kind of stuff. I'm like, no, dude.
Oh, God.
it's like, oh my God, like that's just like, I just, you know, I like palmed the forehead, like, holy crap, this poor guy's family is going to get blown up. And that's exactly what happened. So you need to be very, very careful about these things, because what's working now will probably continue to work for a while, but it's going to change in its effectiveness. So hopefully, I just want to make sure, is the stuff I'm saying making sense?
Show of hands or comments? Okay, great.
Excellent, excellent, cool, cool, cool. All right, perfect. Don't
yes,
be that
exactly. See Dick with his jobs. See Dick. See Dick plan for an immediate, you know, failure.
Absolutely.
Don't
Yeah.
be a dick.
Yeah, see Dick plan for Armageddon. Don't be a douche or a dick or whatever. That's perfect, thank you. See the zombie apocalypse consuming Dick.
Yes.
Exactly. That's how this thing works. All right, perfect. We're good then. Thank you everybody for actually understanding the words coming out of my mouth. That's good. It's a good thing. All right, so now what we have to do here is we have to start looking at what really matters in our businesses. And that's going to come down to pretty much two things. It's strategic marketing done consistently over the long term, combined with creating the books. Now, the reason Author Platform Rocket exists is because it's the most important aspect of your business building, but at the same time, typically the least sexy and least favorable thing, because it doesn't produce the immediate money. And so that's why we kind of showed up like this. It's because, like, this is the thing that's going to keep most of you alive the longest. So hopefully that makes sense. So what we're going to talk about today are going to be like short term. So what this is going to look like is typically every 3 to 4 months, you're going to be able to drop some like book discovery sites. Maybe you can do a blog tour depending on what your release schedule is. Joint ventures, that is the actual, it's not an author industry term necessarily, but that's sort of like outside of authoring. That's what it's called, is where you partner with other people who have mailing lists and you all promote each other. And what you'll typically see is very effective in this particular technique is to get 12 authors who say all have 2,000 people with a healthy click-through, you know, with a healthy relationship with that list. And if you have 12 authors and everybody's releasing one book a month, where you kind of like rotate on the wheel, that can actually be ridiculously powerful, because if you look at 12 authors with 2,000 people, that's 24,000 subscribers. And if you're only promoting one,
yeah, and there may be some crossover and stuff like that, but that's everybody leveraging their lists together, you know, and giving hungry readers what they're looking for. You work together as a team.
Yeah, and so that's where a lot of that box set concept comes in. You could do that with individual titles too. But if everybody really wants to hit, you know, New York Times, USA Today bestseller, by all means, go grab 30 different authors and have everybody, you know, go completely ape for 7 days.
Now, one of the things that I want to point out that Johnny's mentioned a few times here is that these book discovery site ads, some of the stuff that he says to do every 3 or 4 months, the reason he's saying that is that that's about how long it takes, 3 to 4 months on someone who's got a book discovery website. It takes about 3 to 4 months to get a good, healthy amount of new people added to their list. So if you're,
and that's assuming they're still building their list.
Right.
A lot of them don't, which is unfortunate. Right. That's why a lot of people have trouble with some of these sites. Like I've heard reports that some people that were huge back 2011 and 12, you know, have really been falling off. Where it's like, you know, my modus operandi, because I literally think I'm beating you over the head with like a huge flank steak with this thing, is to constantly be building your list. Like I literally practice what I preach. So that's why people typically are pretty happy with the results of things. But, you know, a lot of sites have tapered off. They're just kind of coasting on what worked 5 years ago.
They've got like their list of, you know, 10, 15,000 people, which was great at the beginning. And then the authors are going, oh, my ads don't work with them anymore. I don't get any blips. I don't get lists, because they're not actively building their lists anymore. And that's the thing that happens. All those people have already seen your book. They're not actively doing their own ads to keep building their people and cleanse their list. Now, BookBub does get a good response, and that's one of those sites that we recommend in regards to book discovery. The problem is you can't get on them, and the other problem is they don't clean their list. So they boast, you know, numbers in the millions of subscribers that they have, but it doesn't mean all those millions of subscribers are still reading those lists. Some of those are going directly into their spam folder. They don't care anymore. or their junk folder, not their spam folder. It goes in their junk folder. They, you know,
Or some
they're not
people
paying
just
attention.
moved, you know, it's like,
Yeah.
it doesn't need to be,
The
like, there's just life
LinkedIn.
just kind of happens.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I mean, the average statistics in regards to an email address staying alive for more than 2 years is about 25% of the email addresses that you have on your mailing list are either going to change, be different. You didn't get an update. They, you know, some people get hacked and they have to change their email address, you know. So
Yeah.
there's a general 25% drop off of the list that you have today. So if that keeps going and you're not building, you're always losing from your list, and that's what a lot of these discovery sites have. So
there you go. Yeah, and Liz had a good one. You know, so all business models, you know, focus on income-producing activity.
right.
Totally, and that's, you know, and sometimes it's an indirect concept. Like, for example, you know, most bloggers and whatnot, they do content marketing, right? Excuse me, where they're going to push some sort of article that, you know, pre-sells a certain product or service that they're trying to market. That's, you know, it's not a direct moneymaker, but it's something that, you know, warms people up to the concept of buying. So a little bit abstract, but it still works. But anyway, your free days and stuff like that are absolutely fantastic. Because what that does, is, at least what was mentioned earlier, is that's going to get more people connected with you as an author in whatever particular way. So it's cool. So here we go. Let me minimize my thingy so I can actually see this. All right, short term, we got book launches, 7 to 30 days. Now, what we're talking about in the concept of 7 to 30 days, a 7-day book launch is going to probably fall into the realm of you and a bunch of other authors all like whipping the horse to get a bunch of paid sales so you can move up and hit New York Times or USA Today bestseller. Because that all happens, yeah, like a box set concept. That's something that's cool. Now, I do want to have a little quick caveat on the box set concept. As indie authors, you guys have hacked the ever-loving crap out of the most sacred cow of the publishing industry. And I want you all to know, you literally have. And yeah. I honestly could not stand taller and applaud you more. Like, but the reality is, yeah, you are. But while you're working it, each and every one of you who are partaking of this are literally urinating in the eye of a 200-year-old industry. There is going to come a day, and it will come soon, where the New York Times and USA Today bestseller lists simply say no more box sets.
They've actually changed the rules already. USA Today, I think, used to be the top 200 or 300, and now they're down to like 200, and they've shortened that. New York Times has shortened it, and from what I understand, the New York Times actually has always been a very selective group of people. Sales are not always what gets you on that list.
Right,
so,
right.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's sort of a universal truth that people figured out. But because there are so many box sets that are just nailing that list constantly, what's going to end up happening is, and I mean, this is the inevitable outcome, is because that is the most sacred thing to the traditional publishing industry, they're going to shut you down eventually. And I'm surprised it's even gone on this long, to be perfectly honest. But by all means, once again, make hay while the sun shines. So that's a 7-day punch. Now, when we're looking at like a 30-day thing, that's going to be more of a longevity. That's going to be a little more of like 7 days. Let me kind of pair it. 7 days is great. Like, you really need to hit hard fast when you have a new release, because then you do get to pick up on some of those gravy moments of algorithmic woohoo. You know, and so I don't want to discount that, because it is a thing and it does help. And when you're looking at more of a short-term 30-day concept, that's if you cannot coordinate, which happens a lot. If you can't totally coordinate all the book discovery sites or promotions from partners or all that different kind of stuff, if for whatever reasons, like everybody can't mail on Monday, you're not dead in the water. Like, you can hit it. It'll drop a bit, you hit it again, it pops up again, you know, you hit it, and it's sort of like this it's like a cork getting punched by a baby in a bathtub. Like, that's what your thing's going to look like. It's just constantly bobbing up and down while this kid's like smacking it and screaming.
And just for clarification, what Johnny means by punching it real hard is hitting all of your available marketing venues to get the word out about your book.
Right, right. Like, and let me give you an example here on cost for this when it comes to Facebook ads. I was recently hit up by an author who had a group of, man, I want to say 20 plus romance authors, and they said, hey, we have a budget of $600 for our Facebook campaign. No, it wasn't even that. It was $200 that they've been able to raise. And what I did was broke down numerically, using best case scenario, how completely useless $200 of Facebook ads is going to be, you know, to try to hit a USA Today or New York Times list. You know, because it's like, okay, let's pretend for a minute you're getting 10-cent clicks. How many people are buying? You know, what's your purchase rate? What is it? I mean, out of it, like literally out the park, kind of successful is going to be 20%. I've never seen that, but let's pretend it happens. You know, so you have 2,000 clicks at 20. That's 200 sales. That's not even a blip on the radar.
Right.
Why are you even bothering to spend the money?
Let's see a show of hands. How many people know approximately how many sales you need to make USA Today? And I'll give you a hint. USA Today, you don't need as many sales as the New York Times bestseller list. Show of hands, or if anybody wants to put in the comments about how many sales you need. You got one person raised her hand. She knows about how many sales. Okay. Amy, you're a little low. She came in at 8,000. Okay.
Can I tell them the number? Can I tell them the ideal number?
Okay.
15,000.
That's for New York Times.
Oh, come on now. What's USA Today? I always thought it was the same.
No, USA Today is about, well, unless they upped it. It's 10 to 12,000 for USA Today.
What's the difference?
For New York Times, you need to make at least 14 to 20,000 sales. And remember, it's not necessarily how many sales, that's only part of it.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true. Yeah, it's also, there's the political element too.
Right, and if you and that is that. Christine asked, is that per month or per year? That's for the first week.
That's in 7 days. You have a Sunday to Sunday window.
Week, okay? Yeah. That is the first week. That's why the publishing industry hits that first week so hard, because they're trying to not only make all their money back that they put into producing the book, they're trying to get all those sales in so they can also get on that New York Times USA Today bestseller list. Those letters, and that's right, they can't only be Amazon. I don't know if they cannot only be Amazon. As far as I know,
they have to be diversified.
They have to be. So if you are if you're on Kindle Unlimited or Kindle only, and you make those sales, you'll never. Wow. See, that's
that's the thing.
And
well,
look at the way Amazon pigeonholes us into that. Mm-hmm. And now they're setting us up for never being able to make a list like that on our own.
But let us think for a moment here. It's not about that. It's about making livable wages.
Oh no, understood. But there are a lot of people who are looking at making one of those lists, and there's 2 points I'm trying to make.
That's true.
If you think back to the hardest you have ever pushed one of your own books, or even a box set if you've participated in a box set, okay? And you pushed and pushed and pushed to get that. If you look at your own pre-orders and your own sales in itself, how hard it was to get in those few hundred, maybe a few thousand. Mm-hmm. And now you have to do that every time you put a book out if you want every one of those titles to reach it. It's exhausting, okay? So the other thing is that personally, now this is my take on it because I've been an editor and a cover designer. I've been a traditionally published author, and now I'm a self-published author, and I pretty much am, unless a publisher has got a good enough deal for me to go, okay, fine, I'll let you take my rights and control, I'm staying self-published, okay? Those letters don't mean anything to sales, and they don't mean anything to readers. The only people who care about those letters New York Times, USA Today. The only ones who care about those letters are publishers, editors, and agents. And if you tell them, because when you tell them, I'm a USA Today bestselling author, they're going to go, oh, really? How did you get those? And if you tell them it was a box set, they're going to go, yeah, that doesn't count. So the people that it matters to when you get your letters on a box set, it's wonderful bragging rights. Don't get me wrong. I have friends and family that look at that and go, oh, I didn't know you were a USA Today bestseller. And I go,
I was just going to say, man, family reunions and dinners,
oh,
that's actually
awesome.
a huge thing.
Freaking awesome. Yeah. But as far
Someone's going to buy you a beer somewhere because
yeah. But paying my bills, USA Today didn't get me dick when it came to paying my bills, man. Okay, people look at it and they go, oh, that's nice, and their eyebrows go up. But that don't pay the bills. So we're not, so our approach that we're trying to tell you is that if you want to get those are great. They make you feel good. It's wonderful. Okay, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with getting those, but let's be realistic about what they really mean and who they mean to someone. Okay, right. So that's
everything that you do in this business of yours and in your life as an author is very similar to playing Legend of Zelda back in the day, where it's like if you're able to, you upgrade from the wooden sword to like the copper sword. This, like USA Today to New York Times, it's like kind of upgrading from the leather armor to maybe like a light chainmail. It's not that big a thing. Like it's not coating yourself in like metal that you can go and slay a dragon. It's just sort of like a light half step up the rung. Yay, there it is. You have the thing now. You can, kill a few more beasties, but that's about it. Anyway, back onto the thing. So short term, 7 to 30 days. The 7-day thing, and well, the other big point, and I kind of want to, and I brought this up earlier, based around the sales, it's also the emotional toll that it's going to take on you, because so many authors, they approach this thing like their first or second book, they're like, this is it, I feel it, this is it, and they go and they spend thousands of dollars and they punch all these different sites and they hang their emotional stability on the success of what is about to happen because they feel that this is the one that's going to get them picked up, and it's literally like it's almost a religious zealot-like faith. Don't do that. Like, you have to temper. It's like what was happening even when I was being successful. I still pulled myself back emotionally because I knew what step 2 was, and that was the fallout, and I didn't want to go back to where I knew I was going to go.
That's a sales, it's a sales reality. That's what happens.
Exactly.
Period. And that's why the mailing list is so important. And a lot of the people have the mentality, authors have the mentality, and you've heard this, I'm sure you've heard this a million times. I'm just going to write the first book, and if it sells, great. If it doesn't, then I guess I'm going to move on. And you might as well not even write that first book then, if that's what your attitude going into it. It's like saying, I'm going to open a store, I'm going to put one product on the shelf, and I'm going to hope it sells. And if I sell enough to pay the rent on that one product, then I'll put another product in my store. It's exactly
right. Oh, it's a horrible thing. And I actually wanted, just from a personal experience, back in 2012, I launched a publishing company, and that was the book that we did 15,000 copies in 7 days, only on Amazon. So we hit number 2 on the Wall Street Journal. And had we diversified, that book would have been New York Times, USA Today bestseller. Mm-hmm. We had 685,000 people on the mailing list when we did that. And what happened was, like, over the subsequent 2 years, the company ended up falling apart because one of my partners, and I was just like, oh my God, what's going on? I'm like, why are you not pushing this? He's like, well, what do you mean? It's like, I thought I only had to do this one time. And I was like, are you freaking kidding me? It's like, if you open a bakery, do you bake one cake? It was like, it made my head spin. I'm like, no, man, we're out there every day. This is a thing. This is what we do. It's like, yay, we had a big-ass success, but that's the problem.
Don't stop writing.
The big successes early on sometimes poison the well. So anyway, this is, I think we've kind of beaten the dead horse. This thing, I actually took a live horse, and I think we might have beaten it till it's dead, and now we're kind of kicking it, and I think I'm getting ready to drive a 2x4 through its head. Not that I've ever done that to something I found on the shores of a lake, but that's okay. I was young.
So a book launch is an example of a short-term goal. Okay.
Exactly. Do it. Yes. Okay. So let me just encapsulate everything really quickly. Yes, absolutely do that, but do not pin your hopes and dreams on the outcome of that particular launch.
Right.
Now, if you have been doing long-term steady platform growth and engagement and all these other kinds of things that we're talking about, then by the time you get 5 or 6, I would then, if I were you, begin to expect some decent outcomes.
Right.
From a book launch. Now this is how it works. It's the stacking. It's like the question, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. This is how an author career is built. It's one little bite every single day, go, 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 and then eventually you get to the point where you are no longer beholden to Amazon. So one of the things that we'll talk about here are the book discovery sites. So these are the ones that we like to run and stuff like that. Mailing list subscribers, I Love Vampire Novels, Romance Devoured, Creative Reads, and that kind of thing. These are the ones that we play with, that we own internally. That obviously, I Love Vampire Novels. All you guys should be familiar with it. Been around since 2011. It's obviously sort of the big donkey in the room. Romance Devoured, oddly enough, is growing ridiculously quickly. It's because it's obviously a bigger market than just.
I think we launched that less than a year ago, and we're already at 13,000 likes.
Yeah, exactly. No, I think it was like what, December or something like that.
Yeah,
I remember that because you and I were talking, and I'm like, fine, screw it, I'll put it on the site. And it totally did it. Yeah, it's like, yeah, we need to do this. And you're like, why aren't you doing this? And I said, okay, I'm an idiot. Like, let's do it now. And then Rate of Reads came later because we realized
I think it was in March.
It's definitely, it's in March, and we realized that it's definitely time. And it's interesting about Rate of Reads is that it has a wonderful mailing list, but it doesn't have like the most social proof. It's an interesting phenomenon when you move outside of romance, where you have a more diverse reader base. That we kind of discovered, like, oh, you need to really start catering to people. So like sci-fi is very different than fantasy. Fantasy is very different than, say, like, what do you call them? Like a thriller or anything like that.
Mystery, so suspense, yeah. You can't combine dragons and guns. It just doesn't work. So.
Now I'm waiting for the person to show up who did, because honestly, I'm just that kind of guy. I'm like,
no, but I mean selling them together. You can't do blasters and phasers. And
no, that's what I'm talking about. I'm waiting for a guy to like redo the Never-Ending Story, where like, that giant flying Shih Tzu has like a laser cannon. Betray you. That kind of. Anyway, all right, let's move on from this one. So, okay, these are some book discovery sites that Ariel, where did you pulled these things up? Where did you find them?
A lot of these come from recommendations that I've heard between. I probably belong to about 5 or 6 different author groups on Facebook, and these are the names that I see thrown around all the time. So there, I wasn't able to list all of them. I had to cut down the ones that I heard work the best, and some that I've tried. BK Nights was awesome. Bargain Booksy was awesome. Fussy Librarian. Now we've got Book Butterfly and Fussy Librarian. A couple of people have just now chimed in with. Okay, so those are some other ones. If you know of other ones, go ahead and list them. Joe said, yeah, there's another second for the Book Butterfly. So there's I mean, it's so hard to tell, because there were some of those, like we talked about, there were some websites that people recommended highly, and now they've dropped off the favor list because they're just not building their list anymore. Yeah, right. So
that was the big one. I mean, that was like the big thing. In fact, there was a company that went out and bought up a phenomenal crap ton of these book discovery sites, and it's interesting because in the subsequent years since that merger happened, I honestly have not seen them listed as being particularly great. I interviewed the owner of eReader News today for the podcast we have launching pretty soon. He was pretty adamant about the constant list building, and that's why I think he's still on this thing. And obviously BookBub, I mean, those guys had a $7 million seed capital infusion. I mean, trust me, dude, you give me $7 million, you're going to see some shenanigans. But like these guys, BookBub's like straight up gangster. Like they'll change your life.
Yeah. Now, CB Pratt here says, she always checks their website stats before spending any money. CB, where do you check their website stats? Where do you look to see whether or not they're popular? I used to look at Alexa. Alexa was the place that had a lot of ranking. Alexa's stats have gotten really tainted since Amazon bought them.
Yep, that is so true.
You can't rely on what Alexa says anymore.
Well, also, here's the other thing is you can't rely on Alexa, period, because a lot of these are newsletter sites. When we talk about book discovery sites, a lot of these guys are not always going to be blasting back to their website. There was actually a time in 2012 where I Love Vampire Novels, I was having Emma send the traffic back to the page before people could download the book. And the reason I was doing that is I actually wanted to artificially inflate the Alexa rankings because I was curious to see what would happen. Literally, that was all it was. It was like a traffic and marketing experiment, and it did literally nothing. But at least we did it. Now I have that data, and I can report it to you. Ladies and gentlemen, Jack Crap, thank you for your time. No, but that's what we were doing. And so you're very infrequently are you going to find a website in this world that has like epic front-end traffic coming in, Alexa or otherwise, because they're using their newsletters. That's what we're looking for. Like people who talk about like, oh, we're going to broadcast you on Facebook, we're going to shoot you through Twitter. I literally hear the sound of like teachers talking on Peanuts cartoons. I'm like, what's the situation with your newsletter? Because like that's all I need.
Right, exactly. CB's also saying if you go to Google, what do you Google the site? Like if I want to look up Fussy Librarian, do I say Fussy Librarian hits and visitors, or how are you looking that up?
Yeah, if there's a thing here, I want to know about it because
I know, right? Because that's what I want to do. Because here's
this is the kind of stuff Ariel and I geek out about.
Right. When a website goes to Google website web stat trackers. Okay, great. We'll look into that. When you go to somebody's website and they say we have so many thousand people on our mailing list, okay, that doesn't really it gives you some indication, but then it's like now you got to do your due diligence. So does that number change from month to month? Is it go up? Does it go down? It's okay if it goes down because, like for example, probably about 6 to 8 months ago, Johnny was able to boast 85,000 people on his list collectively between the three lists. Now we're down to 65 because we got rid of dead weight. But that means you're going to have better open rates. That means you're going to have better responses. Okay.
Yeah, I've deleted, I think, this year alone, almost 45,000 subscribers.
Yeah.
But I'm literally like almost the only person that does that.
Right.
Because I believe in list hygiene. It's like I don't think that I don't post a lot of the numbers just in that regard because it's like people.
It changes too much. Yeah, it changes too much.
Exactly.
Yeah,
and it doesn't really mean that much, but people look at the overall, like the 170,000 likes on Facebook. I mean, that's cool and all, but how many of them actually see things? It's like there's some stuff we post and like 50,000 people will see it. That's awesome.
Right.
But that's usually like, some dude barely wearing pants. It's like, how do I sell that to you? That's weird.
Right. Now, and there are several of you chiming in saying that you clean your list too, and I think that is an awesome practice.
Bravo.
Absolutely. Because your open rates are going to go down, and how are you going to judge, which are the ones? I've got an automatic thing set up that sends an email based on segments or whatever that says if somebody hasn't opened up the last 5 campaigns, no matter what those campaigns are, if they have not even opened the last 5 campaigns, and I send them out weekly, so that means if they haven't opened anything in 6 weeks, in a month, a little over a month, then send them a message that says, hey, just want to make sure you still want to be on the list. Click that button down there if you'd still like to be on my list. If they don't click that button, 3 days later they go bye-bye, and they're automatic.
I agree with that. Like, there's not a single word that you just said that I don't agree with. That's brilliant.
See what a good team you make.
It's perfect. It's absolutely perfect. That is perfectly executed. Yes, exactly. Cut them off. They're just dead weight. Get rid of them.
Get out of here. Boy, I'm not going to do it anymore.
Yeah, stupid and displease me. Yeah. All right, now you get to talk about this.
Your flags, yes. Now, this was a promo I did just recently. I have my entire series right now. Book 6 is not out yet. Book 6 is coming up. And yes, and I will definitely put that cleaning procedure in a handout. I'll include it for session 10. Thank you for the reminder, and I will keep that reminder up there. And by the way, Rue also mentioned bookgorilla.com. She's gotten good results from that. I have gotten good results from that. I forgot to list them on there. Bookgorilla.com. And Bookerilla.com, by the way, if you're not on the mailing list, they're starting to send out a lot of free classes that you can take in regards to marketing and algorithms for Amazon, keywords, all that kind of stuff. So get on their mailing list so that you can get some extra tips, some marketing tips. And bookbarbarian.com is great, but only for sci-fi fantasy. So, all right. So,
that's right, people. Watch your genre, please, for the look. I got to tell you, man, just owning a couple of these things, I got to tell you, the stuff that comes through the pipe, I'm like, seriously, read the description of this website. Oh, my God. It's killing me. Like, you're killing me, people.
You're killing me. Okay, so what I'm doing is I'm ramping up to make sure that I've got as many people as possible with my other books in my series in their hands, as much as I can, okay? Now, I did not push this to my own mailing list. I actually did a little bit of an experiment to get it out there because I wanted new people. I wanted new blood. So what I did was I did a series of promos. They were just ads through the ILVN newsletter, I Love Vampire Novels. And I said I used my Kindle Unlimited or KDP free days. I put each of my books in my series Monday through Friday. They were completely, they were free for that entire week. Book 1 was on 1 week, and the following week I did book 2 and book 3 and book 4 and book 5. Did not push this to my mailing list. And the reason why I didn't do that was because a lot of those people already have my books. So like I said, I was trying to expose the list of, to new people. At the beginning of every single one of my books, if you guys haven't listened to my other webinars, I have put a link to my giveaway, my free book, Frostbitten Hearts, which is my novella that's a spin-off of the series that pushes people toward getting the other books in the series. So I'm trying to build all this up. Now, these were the spikes that happened to the ILVN, and the reason why book 1, 2, and 3, you see how that's gradually going up as we go along? Because I have promoted to ILVN several times through the years. Book 1 was released in 2011. So you can see I got some new people who downloaded book 1. Same thing with book 2 and book 3. But as you get progressively along, there's a lot of people who on the ILVN list who haven't seen those books yet. So I got a lot of
quick suggestion on this. And this is just me because, I'm going to tell you to contact Emma and have her put book 1 back in. This also could be a result of continuous branding because your covers are very distinctive.
That's what I tried, and that's what we're going to talk about next week.
Oh, well, there we go.
Yeah, we're talking about.
I'm going to tell you right now. Put book 1 back in there and see what happens.
Serious? What do you mean? Put it back in there for what?
Hit it again, like after book 5, because people are going to look at your books. More than likely, because you've been promoting, but I'm telling you, man, ILVN is a completely different list than it was back when you first came in.
Right.
And it's like our refresh rate's actually pretty gangster right now because of all the giveaways and stuff like that. So there's a good chance that people are becoming more familiar with you. Right.
80 asked a very good question, but Ariel, isn't this training people that can always get your books for free? Why would they buy any of them? I never put my books up for free. This is a one-time deal.
It's true. She won't even give it to me. It's terrible. I hardly
ever do it. I don't say I never. I hardly ever put my books up for free. I push the shit out of book 1, which is 99 cents. That's my lost leader, so to speak. I'm thinking about putting that one on free again because I really did see a lot of sell-through rate when I put my first book up for free. But that's what my short story is, my novella is. My novella is my lead magnet. Frostbitten Hearts is about 25 to 27,000 words. It's a spin-off that actually takes place between book 4 and 5, but it's a standalone. You don't have to read my series in order to enjoy the book. However, it is very much my writing that I use throughout this series. So it's a great way to really put them in a high-impact action, adventure, mystery, tension, sexy situation with my books and say, if you liked this, you're going to love the series. Because these are all full-length novels. They're the minimum, I think, is 65,000 words, and that's book 2. The rest of them are, book 1 and book 5 are over 100,000 words. So they're full-length novels. If they like them, then they're going to be in for a fun ride.
Totally.
So,
oh, by the way, don't let me forget about this. I want to actually use a guinea pig tonight and talk about sell-through. So I need somebody who's on the call who has 5 books, and I want to talk about your sell-through. So if you're one of those people, get me some data.
CB goes,
yeah, absolutely. All right, we're going to have a little combo online here. It's going to be fun.
So basically what this was, before I conclude this series, I've been trying to get as many people on board, and of course I always have my mailing list, and I got a spike in my giveaway because over the last month because of people seeing my giveaway at the beginning of all these books. My book is in everything, or my giveaway is in all my books. Every book that I have has got my giveaway in it. Okay, so you see the spikes, but you see how that trails off. Okay, you do an ad and it trails off. Ebook Daily went ahead and promoted my book. They saw it for free and they went, oh, by the way, we featured your book. I was like, oh, thanks. So that was a free one. So that was nice. So Ebook Daily, they picked that up for free. So if you want to get a free advert out there, go with those guys too. As you can see, it was a pretty decent list. Let me see what those numbers are on that screen. I can't really see them on this little tiny one I've got going on here. Oops. No. What is that doing?
Oh, really quick for the questions. I would like to see a 5-book series. It does not have to be sequential. It could be episodic, but I want to see a single genre 5-book situation where you can give me data on your sell-through rate. Because what I'm going to show you is a projection based off of paid traffic to a first-in-series concept. I've actually worked out some situations here, and I'm going to tailor it specifically to you so you can know how much money that if you spend in ads, you're going to be able to get out at the end of the day. So I need your pricing and I need your sell-through for about a 5-book series.
Cool. Okay. So this is all to show you, and now here's the good news. This month in September, because I did this, I remember all my books are on KU, and I've got a box set as well. That did not go out for free days. I have not used the free days for the box set. I only use it for the books themselves. My sales have been the best I've had in, well, they've been the best this year, and they've been the best, gosh, since I released book 3. So doing this, I will admit, KU does bring in the dough.
It does. That box set of yours has actually been doing quite well.
Yeah. And Johnny's been helping me run ads to the box set in regards to encouraging page reads. So it does work, bundling your books and putting it in the box set. They only use 1 title then out of their 10 that they're allowed to have for the month. When they get your box set, that's a single title. So that's 1 of their 10 versus getting all 5 of my books. They've now used up half of their thing. So, but anyway, there you
go. No, well, here's the other thing is that actually being a good writer helps too. I just want to throw that out there.
Are you giving me kudos?
Shh. Don't talk. Don't speak.
Tell me more about my eyes.
Tell me more about me. No, but that's what it is. If you're a good writer and you put stuff together, people are going to go crazy for this thing. Like right now, Kevin Tumlinson and I are working on the exact same concept. He has an 1,800-page box set that he's putting out, and I'm like, I love sci-fi. Like I actually love romance too. It's not my freaking marriage, for God's sakes. It's amazing. But like with Kevin, I'm like, I love your stories. This is so cool. Let's do it. We put it out there, and we're killing it. It's literally like the difference is in when you're playing the box set game on a KU page read, it comes down to book description and cover along with reviews. And you just have to assume that you've done the right thing in terms of writing. So if everybody loves your books, bundle them and Kindle Unlimited the crap out of that.
Yeah. Joe's got a very funny comment here. What? Are you saying you have to actually deliver a quality product to the market?
I know, shocking.
I know, it's like, isn't that amazing? Joe, you have no idea how many...
I tell you, man, I woke up sweating the same night that happened. Like, I realized that, too. I'm like, what am I going to do?
Yeah, all those people... Now, I was an editor for 2 presses, okay, for 2 small presses. They don't call it the slush mile for nothing. Okay, I'm telling you, people, all those people that got rejected because they really shouldn't have been published went, woohoo, I can self-publish now. They all, and the funny thing was when I got my first contract, I thought I was one of those authors that was like, I know my stories are good. They're going to get out there. And when I got my first contract and I got my first edits back, my jaw dropped. I was like, oh, are you kidding me? What? And I told my editor, why did you contract me? This is a mess. And she goes, because you have a good story. She says, we can fix the other stuff, but you have a really good story. And that's what the editors in the big 5, they don't care if you have a good story. If they have a lot of editing to do, you're not going to get in, because they try to put as little time, and I've talked to big 5 editors, okay? They try to put as little time as possible into fixing books, okay? And here's the other reality that a lot of authors don't know, and I didn't know it. I was in the same boat. You don't know what you don't know until you know what you don't know. Okay, so you think you're putting out the best that you possibly can, and you are.
That's so Rumsfeld of you.
But but you really don't know what you're missing until you learn, because that's the whole thing. You don't know it, you know. And there's a lot of authors out there. I tried to teach a lot of classes, and there were some authors that were like eating it up, and they were saying, oh my God, this is saving me so much time. And there were other authors who are going, oh, that's nice. I know what show versus tell is. And I'm like, no, you don't. No, you don't. Everybody thinks it has to do with description. People do not know what show versus tell is. They don't know what conflict is. They don't know what any of that stuff is. And they put stories out there, and I kind of go, I can't help you because you don't want help. They go, no, that's okay. I don't need that. And I'm like, okay, okay. So it's tough being an author because these are your babies. It's really hard to face what you don't know. And if you've never had a contract, it's really, really, really tough. So try to pay an editor. I know I'm getting off track here. Try to pay an editor. If you've never had an editor read your stuff and you've self-edited everything, please pay an editor to do a short story and get first-hand experience of what you're doing wrong. And it will be the best money you ever spent on education. You can read all the books on writing that you want to, and you're still not going to learn everything you need to know.
No, I just want to kind of chime in on this particular thing. Now, I promised in previous things where I'd never talk about writing, but I am right now. What she's talking about is actually vital, because I come to this situation sort of like a babe to the wilderness. I'm not what you would call a quality writer, nor do I think I ever will become one, and I'm kind of okay with that. Like, I'm never going to write the books, but I'll sell the crap out of yours kind of thing. Like, that's my motto. The reality is what she's talking about is straight up truth, because if you do not have a shining, pristine gem of a book, if there's problems, if there's something in your narrative, if there's something with your characters, if there's something that's not believable, it's going to end up blowing up in your face, and it's really going to damage you. And so this is just as big as learning how to sell stuff. It really is, because if you're not selling stuff people want to read, you're not selling stuff, you know. So be very careful with this and learn. And I know a lot of you, I mean, I see the names tonight, and I'm looking at a lot of you, and I know a lot of you have a lot of books. You've been around a while, and it's cool. Never stop learning how to do your craft better.
Right.
Never stop learning. That is the most valuable thing.
Right. And here's another thing too, and just touching upon that, and then we'll move on, is as an editor and as an avid reader for 30 plus years, 40 years, 40, I've been reading since I was a kid.
You're dating yourself. Dial it back. Oh my God.
I'm 48. All right. So
oh my God. You never even told me.
I know.
Why you announce that publicly? I call you up and you won't even tell me.
Yes. Anyway, the reality is that writing styles change. Okay, and what used to be accepted by publishers 10 years ago are now being accepted today. The whole thing about alternate points of view, when you're in first person alternating points of view, that was considered amateur writing. You don't do that. If you're doing first person, you have to stay in that same person throughout the entire book. You do not do that. There are editors in small press that did not know that rule and said, oh, this is neat, and they published it. Readers loved it. They absolutely loved it. Well, guess what? It is now a new style of writing. Okay. Third person omniscient was the thing back in the day of Charles Dickens and Robert Burns and all those other guys. And then eventually it was third person limited point of view. Then it went to single, and there were single points of view and all that. All of those changed through the years. Okay. So what used to be accepted back then and not accepted is now being accepted today. That's going to change. You got to learn how to do all that stuff too. And you're going to have to learn to bend like the reed, because honestly, I was one of those editors going, you can't do that. I'm like,
yeah, man, screw the, what do they call that? The Cambridge comma or something?
No, it's the Oxford comma.
Oxford, man, screw Oxford.
Comma. Yeah,
Oxford. What is
comma.
up with that? I don't even know what that means. I don't even know how to use a regular comma.
So
the Oxford comma comes with like a hair lip.
Understood, and I know you can't stick around. Go on. Are we running over? What time is it?
Yeah, we're over.
Oh, God, we are. We're 20 minutes over. Okay, let's get moving.
But you guys, you and I talking at the same time is going to run over.
Okay,
really?
So now we got to get into it. And you can, and if you guys need to drop off, we understand. We're going to continue going, and you can always watch this later on if you can't stick around. So let's go with the long term. Let's talk about some of the long term stuff.
All right, so here's what we're talking about in terms of long term. So remember, there's two separate things that are going on simultaneously. You got your punchy every 3 months kind of thing, and then you have your long term. Now the long term, the goal of this is not a direct money-making thing typically. What this is going to do is this is going to start building your fan base and building the relationship with your fan base. So as you produce new books, you can communicate with these people and have them go, happy H, yes, I am going to buy the ever-loving crap out of this and tell all my friends. And that is a huge thing.
Right.
This is absolutely a huge thing. It's like, this is why you look at the giveaways and why they're so successful, is because it's a non-financial transaction. You get them, I mean, psychologically, and I'm not going to get into a whole bunch of like salesy whatever, but you're basically making an exchange. You're like, okay, you give me your email, I give you a thing to read. If you like it, awesome. You choose to continue down the pathway. If you don't, no problem. Thank you so much for trying. And so what you do here is, this is why we run these things in the background. You can run these things in the background. There's two different ways to do this. The first is the giveaway. It's like you build that mailing list. You cull the mailing list. You separate the wheat from the chaff. It's a process. It's the most vital process, literally next to writing the books. Secondary is going to be driving sustained traffic, and this is where we're going to get in just a second, because I am proud to announce the open of the Author Platform Rocket Agency program officially. Super excited. I know, shocking. But yeah, we're doing that now, where we actually drive direct to sales sort of stuff, but it's dependent on certain people, so there's an application process. Don't all get excited about it. It's not for everybody. Once you have a certain amount of books that are in a specific series, in a specific genre, this is where you can add the segment of direct promotion to your books. Now, this gets back into what I was talking about earlier, where you can expect click costs to go up. And so you have to look at, what is my output, what is my sell-through, because it's going to be a never-ending battle between your sell-through and the cost to get people to buy the first book. So it's very important to look at that kind of thing. So,
right. You know what? Christine had asked me, what about Goodreads? That should have been on here too, as far as author pages. I forgot to list them on there, so absolutely.
Let me see here. Hold on a second. We've got some, whoa, Senna. Damn, girl. She just went crazy with numbers. Hold on a second. I have to figure this out. Oh, you're killing me. Okay, book 2, you got higher than book 1? Looks like your page reach. You're all over the place. This is great. Okay, here, do me a favor. Just for the sake of my own sanity, can you boil this down into percentages? What were the actual sell-through percentages?
Yeah, but how do you figure that out? How do you figure that out?
I don't know. Divide one number by another.
Yeah, but what is she dividing over in regards to, like, book one? She said she had 359 sales and 232,000 page reads. Okay,
Don't give me
so
the page reads right now. We're going to actually look at that as gravy.
okay, so if she's got 359 sales, so now you're going from 359 to book two had 472 sales.
Now I got to ask before you show me that, was there a promotion involved on book two? Because if so, that's artificially inflated. Because typically there's going to be attrition. Attrition is where people drop off. No, but these are wonderful numbers, and I actually really appreciate the fact that you did this.
We may have to revisit this next week because we're already over. We may have to
yeah, this is true.
And present this later.
But this is good. This is real good.
It's good data. So
oh, okay. Book one is perma-free. Interesting.
Yeah, you're gonna have to dissect this at another time.
Yeah, that's gonna be me dissecting.
I'm gonna crack the whip.
All right, no, that's actually fair. That's typically I argue with her constantly. It's funny, like, but in this particular case, I'm gonna go with the flow. So anyway, long-term building. We're gonna talk about this stuff, Senna. This is awesome. Thank you. And I think I can use this as sort of an experiment. It'll be fun. So if you wouldn't mind, email us this data, and I'm going to see if I can figure out a way to plug this in. Yeah, that'll be perfect. So anyway, newsletter building is going to be the thing that you do on a daily, active basis along with your writing. Now, if possible, and if you have enough books to make it work, you can also do a direct-to-sale campaign that is a slow feed. So what I'm talking about when I say slow feed is you come up with some sort of daily ad budget number where if you have, and the numbers that I've worked out, it looks very much like you need roughly 4 books before you become profitable. If you're driving traffic to a direct sale. Now the other way to do this is like what Ariel and I have been experimenting with, which has been very profitable, is a box set. If you do a box set, that's a completely different kind of animal. You know, that's a different sort of promotion that can be done very, very effectively and very, very well. But if you're doing things where you have first in series, that can, you can definitely work on that. As long as your sell-through is above 70%, you're going to probably come out ahead. And so if you can look at book 1 through 5 and you see that the read-through and the buy-through is going to be above 70%, there is a lot of hope for you in terms of doing a direct-to-sale.
I'm going to interrupt you on this one because as an author who I know I know there's a lot of authors sitting out there going, what the fuck is a sell-through? Okay, pardon me. I'm sorry. I said the F word. I dropped the F-bomb. Oh man, I dropped the F-bomb. But
I have to put the E on the webinar.
Yeah, what the F is a sell-through? How do I figure that out? What's the math that's behind it? You do this in your sleep. I think we're going to have a separate class for this. So.
All right. All right. Well, just to define, it's however many people take book 1 that move on to purchase book 2.
And how do you measure that? Just by the number of sales? Because not everybody who bought book 1 are also going to be measured in those sales that are in book 2.
It's not a perfect thing. You can't do it because nobody's giving you the perfect data.
Right.
The best you can hope for is to take like a 3-month average across all the books and be like, you know what, book 1 to book 2 is this percentage, book 2 to book 3 is this percentage. And you know what, you're not going to be perfect because people are going to buy it based on the list. They're going to buy it because they found it somewhere.
Sure.
Whatever.
Yeah, you can't track a lot of that stuff. Yeah.
Right. We do what we can with what we have.
It's guesstimates. So.
Exactly.
Okay.
So that's all it is. That's long-term planning. So it's when you get to the point where you have that kind of volume of back catalog. So let's look at the daily activity just so we can be done. Giveaways, we do this automatically. This is the whole APR concept here. Where we hand you the people, you do pre-scheduled messages. That's what all these webinars have been about, is how do you build this? You can do tweet campaigns, you can do Facebook posts, and what's cool about this is, Facebook is not totally useless in terms of like organic traffic. Because what you could do is create a very engaging post and email your subscribers to it.
Right, but
send them that post, you can actually end up picking up a lot of extra people that way.
Right, and the other part of that too is that people don't like on Facebook ads. Everybody complains about ads on Facebook when you're, you know, a person who's just scamming scanning Facebook and having fun and figuring out, you know, who said what and blah, blah, blah. So when you have, hey, my new book's out, go get it. Hey, my new book's out, go get it. Buy my book, buy my book, buy my book. It turns readers off. But if you say, hey, I have a giveaway, that gets people going to your mailing list. Then you want to go ahead and pre-schedule tweets and Facebook posts that are driving people to your giveaway, or you're driving people to join your mailing list. Say, hey, join my reader club and you'll get a first book free. You know, whatever it is that you've got set up for your reader club. So when we say pre-schedule messages for tweets, for Facebook posts, use Hootsuite for bulk uploads, it's about join my list or join my giveaway, not buy my book. Okay? You're going to turn those people up. You're wasting your time. But people are okay with this stuff. You do get a decent response off of that because they don't have to buy anything. That's why. You know, once they get to fall in love with you, then they'll buy. Right.
Absolutely. So there you go. I think everybody gets that now. We've definitely done that. It's important. You know, have your daily writing rituals. It's 4 books a year, I think, would be at the bottom end, but it's still very doable, and I think it's realistic.
Okay, now I know.
Most people can pull that off.
Let us pause for those authors who are going, $4 a year. Oh my God. Okay, because that's me. That's me. The only way you're going to do that.
That's because you hang out with me too much. Like I screw up your time.
I know. Never mind. So. So when you want to lodge 4 books a year, okay, that's his recommendation, and I get it. I've seen authors that I know were putting out novellas every 2 weeks. I shit you not. We're talking 100 pages, 150 pages, maybe 80 to 150 pages every 2 weeks, full production, the whole 9 yards. And they both, and these 2 authors said, I'm killing myself. Okay, they were making one time. The one gal reported $72,000 in a month. Okay, $100,000 in a month. Yes, it is possible.
But that money comes with a price.
Holy bananas! Health problems.
Don't kill you. Yeah, don't do it. Don't do it.
It's not, and it's small stuff. And the readership, as soon as they stopped writing because they went, okay, I got to take care of myself, their sales dropped like a stone. They drop like a stone. So that, talk about training your readers. Yeah, you've got to make sure that you train your readers for a certain level of expectation. Now, how do you stay on a steady schedule? Do what's reasonable for you and set aside at least 1 hour a day to write, or set a word count goal. Now, do not get stupid with this, okay? Because that last bullet point, do not be too hard on yourself. When you start, okay, I'm going to put in 500 words a day, or I'm going to put 3,000 words a day is what I'm going to do. I'm going to do 3,000 words a day. And then you miss a day because your kid got sick and you had to stay home and you had to, you had to stop writing and pay attention to your kid. Well, then the next day you're going, well, now I'm 3,000 words behind. So I have to put 6,000 words in today. You're going to kill yourself that way. Okay, first of all, start small. And some of you go, oh, I do 500 words, no problem. Great. Do 500 words until every day you can pop out 500 words. Okay, do more if you want to. That's awesome. Okay, usually when I set a goal for myself, when I want to write a book, I'll say, okay, I'm going to shoot for 80,000 words. I'm going to divide that up into chunks that I can manage, that I know I can manage. And then I'll go, how many days will that take me? And I'll go, oh my God, it's going to take me a month and a half to write because I'm doing 2,500 words a day. Holy crap. I didn't think it was going to take that long because we're thinking, oh, I can get this done in 2 weeks. Be realistic, okay? Start doing the math and figuring out what that's going to take. And
make it attainable. Make it attainable.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
Holy crap.
I mean, and start with time. I'm going to set at least an hour a day, a minimum, an hour a day, and then figure out what your word count is in an hour. What are you averaging for the next month? Then you can go, okay, well, I average, when I do an hour a day minimum, I average about 600 words or 1,000 words or whatever it is that you do, 500 words, okay? Then you can go, okay, so I know now my daily word count is this. Okay, you don't have to set time. Now you can set word counts and be realistic with yourself. And if you find that you're doing more than that, then great, up it. but only up it when you're available. Rachel Aaron has an amazing book that she calls it the Go from 2K to 10K a day. She'll show you how to do that. And I've had 20,000 word days when I've been on my best. But that's because I followed her method. So doing it on my own.
Really quickly, this is literally the exact same process as anything else you want to achieve in life. Let me give you kind of a ballpark on this. Back in 2011, I weighed almost 300 pounds. This morning, when I woke up, I did 3 miles on a treadmill before 5:30 in the morning, and then I climbed the Empire State Building after doing shoulders. It's a process, people. Yeah. It's a freaking process.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so that's, you set up your daily writing rituals. Be reasonable with yourself. Don't be hard on yourself, because if you are hard on yourself, you're going to stop. Okay, life happens. Mm-hmm. Don't sweat it. All right. Johnny, are you going to give him any homework assignment?
You know what? I want to know what your numbers are.
There you go.
I think I really want to know what everybody's numbers are. Like, I want to know your sell-through rates, because this is the kind of thing that determines the future of your career. It's these weird kind of abstract concepts. So what I want everybody to do is I want you to look at the past 3 months of your sales, and to make this really relevant, I'm not talking to genre hoppers. So if you're a genre hopper, you're not my friend. Just because it kills me.
Don't listen to him. No. Well, okay. He's looking for potential people that he can put in his agency program. Okay, so this is why he's giving you this information. If you want to get involved in the agency program, he's going to help you with a couple of things. He's first going to evaluate, and then he's going to be, and I'm guessing here, Johnny, right? Then you're going to be able to say, here's how I can help you understand these figures. Thanks for submitting the information. Here's some advice. Those of you who fit the agency criteria, he'll go, great, would you like to sign up? Okay, because he's got, if it wasn't for Johnny and this experimentation that we've been doing, I don't think I'd be making the sales that I've been making. Well, it's been a combination of what he's been doing for me and what I've been doing with my mailing list. So it's definitely helped on many different levels. So did I spoil everything for you, Johnny?
No, not really at all. It's hilarious. I actually wasn't even pitching people because I figured almost everybody's bought basically everyone on the call drank the Kool-Aid anyway, so I wasn't even going to tell people that, but I like that you said it. Yes, sweet. It's awesome. If you want to, that's great. I'm not going to announce it for a while, but
oh, I thought you just made the official announcement. I was helping you.
Well, just this little rosebud of just this little rosebud of people. It's all good. But no, I'm very curious because the reason, and it is a purely selfish reason, I want to be able to better hone the model that I'm using, because I have a spreadsheet right now that I'm looking at everything from perma-free all the way up to full price for the first book, and I have projections based off of click data and sell-through rates, and I would very much like to see where people are falling on this scale, and I want to do an individualized kind of projection. It's like, okay, where can you realistically expect the income to happen? Because everybody's different.
Yeah.
That's the big thorn in my eye. I can't just make a one-size-fits-all situation. Yeah. And so this is one of those situations where it's there's a good chance that I'm going to look at somebody with 5 books and look at their numbers and say, if you spend a single dollar on Facebook ads, you're going to go in the red for the rest of your life. That's definitely possible. Mm-hmm. But what I want to find out is who are those people, because it might be that your budget makes sense to do the punch and chewy kind of stuff where you hit these book discovery sites every 3 months, and that keeps you in the black. If that's the case, keep writing. Maybe you can keep doing that. It's so unique per individual that I'm very, very curious to see what this looks like in real time with real people. So that's your homework. Is give me 3-month averages, sell-through rates on your single genre series.
What does that mean? Book 1, so many odd sales. Book 2, so many odd sales. Book 3, so many odd sales. Is that what you're asking for?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Okay. That and page reads. I'll totally look at both. Okay. Also, and I do need to address Rue. She did come in with this question earlier.
Right.
But she's been told many times to avoid Kindle Unlimited, not to be exclusive to Amazon. So she went wide for her releases and her titles and her box sets. Is this a mistake? The answer is no. The reality is Amazon is kind of a big, superhuman behemoth. Unfortunately, they are the smartest people in the room, and they help authors make the most money.
Right.
I don't think that's a wrong thing to say. If you are morally opposed to that kind of thing, I am kind of on your side with that decision, but I also have to say you're not going to make as much money.
Yeah,
Typically in the short term.
I think the answer to that, Rue, is what do you feel comfortable with? Because here's
it's up to you.
Yeah, here's the thing. Hugh Howey said it, and if anybody, raise your hand who does not know who Hugh Howey is. Raise your hand if you do not know who Hugh Howey is. Okay. Hugh Howey is one of the pioneers of self-publishing. He is literally he was like one of the first people to literally make $1 million at doing self-published books. Okay. He is a high expert. He has said, I don't like putting my eggs all in one basket either, but until somebody else comes up with a better game in town, Amazon's getting all my business. He says, if somebody comes up with something better, I'll be the first to jump ship. So that's the guy who's the expert on self-publishing, him and a number of other people. Look up Hugh Howey on the internet and follow his blog. He's got a lot of good advice. He's a best-selling author. Mm-hmm. And it's because he writes good books. It's not just because he gamed the system. He's still making good money off his book. Yeah.
They're amazing.
He's really good.
Oh my God, the Silo series is so good.
So the answer to the question is go wherever you're making money. And unfortunately, putting your eggs in one basket does, it's kind of an Achilles heel, If Amazon changes their algorithms like they did, or changes their system like they did when they went from percentage to page reads, it screwed a whole bunch of authors that were selling short books. And now this system is actually more advantageous for authors who write longer books. Okay.
Well, it's not necessarily longer books. It's for authors who actually write books people want to read.
Right. So this is all based on, they can go ahead and read those first few pages, but did they continue? That's what helps you make money, is when people actually.
That's the thing. Books. That's the reason I'm sort of like a big proponent of how they're working right now. Because if you look at the problem, it's like, what determines a good book? That's been the big academic argument for all of eternity in publishing, is what really makes a good book. Amazon answered that. It's a book people want to continue reading. And so that's why it makes so much sense if you box everything up. You take an entire series, you turn it into one book, and if people download it and then read all of the pages because they're so entranced with it, you just wrote a good book.
Yeah.
That's how you know that you have a good book, is because people read from the beginning to the end and they love it and you get paid. Yeah. Period. End of story. That's all there is to it.
Yeah. So there you go. Okay. All right. Any questions right now? Well, actually, let you know. Next week, I'm going to be talking about how to package your books, meaning book covers, blurbs, the interior of your books, ensuring that they have all the tools that you need to have your books sell your other books, and not just your books, your marketing materials also to sell your books. So if you have a publisher, you still can have some control over some of your marketing tools. So we'll have lots of tips and suggestions. Be sure that you're going to be here for that next week. Now, any questions that we did not answer?
On this 2-hour marathon webinar, do you have any questions? Oh, actually, isn't next week we're going to be live?
Yeah, not next week. I'm sorry, I said that wrong. Not next week, next session. Because yes, you're absolutely right.
Next session.
Next week, we're going to be over at the Indie Scribe Con. And thank goodness I'll have my battery fixed by then, because I tried to go live from Universal Studios, and I fell flat on my face with that one because my battery crashed on me. So anyway,
if you guys want to watch Ariel punch me in the face with a beer bottle, that's going to be.
So that'll be.
I disagree with everything you just said.
And you'll get to see Mr. Burns, my husband, Mr. Burns. Excellent. So, okay. So for the stats on the books, do you want numbers for all the retailers of Amazon International or just Amazon USA?
Right now, just to keep it simplicity, please give me Amazon USA only.
That's probably where the majority of those go with that.
Yeah. I don't want to sit
are
there with
welcome.
like Japanese data because I just won't even know.
We love you too, CK. Mwah. Anybody else? Any
Your
other questions?
favorite. All right, I think everyone's happy. This is cool.
Okay, guys, thanks so much for hanging in there. We're so sorry this went longer. And so, but next week we'll try to stay on track. Or not next week.
I
Like
blame
next
myself.
session. Next session.
Next session.
Next session. Next week you'll get to see my costume. My husband and I are going to be wearing interesting costumes for the ball. I won't tell
There's
what
a
that is.
ball?
There's 2 balls. There's one Thursday night.
There's 2 balls? Who
Yes.
has 2 balls?
I know, right?
You're not even catching me anyway.
They're holding 2 balls.
There we go. Now we're on point. Now we're holding 2 balls. Thank you for coming back to where my brain lives.
Yes, exactly.
That's awesome.
Yes, so they're going to have a fantasy ball on Friday night, or is it Thursday night? Thursday night is a fantasy ball, and I don't know which one it is, but both of them just are costume balls. So just go ahead. And yes, I can juggle.
The enchanted one.
Yes, I can juggle. So I tell you what, CD, I'm going to try to juggle for the camera. So we'll see if we can do it.
I'll be holding it and laughing at her.
I'm not an expert at it, but I can put some balls in the air
okay.
for a little while.
We take those who slouch toward goals. That's good.
So, all right,
All right,
gang.
people, come back. We're done here.
Thank you.
Doodles.
Do the big newlywed. Mwah. It's the dating game. I don't know. Okay, bye.